He sat under a tree for 49 days and discovered something that changes everything. Your emotions don't control you. You're just not aware enough to stop them. Around 2,500 years ago, a man named Siddhartha decided to figure out why humans suffer. He tried everything: luxury, extreme poverty, philosophy, starvation. Nothing worked. Then he sat under a tree and did something simple but powerful. He watched his own mind, not to control it, not to change it, just to watch it. And after weeks of pure observation, he understood. Emotions aren't the problem. Your lack of awareness about them is. When you're aware enough, emotions lose their power to control you. You feel them, but they don't drive your actions anymore. And that awareness is what sets you free. That's when he became the Buddha. Here's what most people get wrong about emotions. They think emotions are automatic, uncontrollable, that they just happen to you and you have to react. Someone makes you angry, something makes you sad, a situation makes you anxious. The emotion arrives and you're powerless against it. You just react. Say things you regret. Do things you wouldn't normally do. Make decisions you later wish you hadn't. But Buddha discovered that's not actually how it works. Emotions don't control you. They only feel like they do because you're not aware of what's happening in your own mind. There's a gap between the emotion arising and you acting on it. But that gap is so small, so fast, that most people miss it completely. They think the emotion and the action are one thing, but they're not. And in that gap is where freedom lives. Think about it like this. Someone insults you. Immediately, you feel anger rising. And before you even realize what's happening, you're responding, saying something harsh back. Your face is hot. Your hands are tense. The anger has taken over. But Buddha would say there was a moment, a tiny moment, between the insult and the anger where you could have observed it, where you could have seen the anger starting to form and chosen not to feed it. But you weren't aware. You weren't watching your mind. So the emotion grew automatically. And once it was strong enough, it controlled you. Not because emotions are inherently controlling, but because you weren't present enough to catch it early. Buddha taught that emotions are like clouds. They arise, they pass, they're temporary, but most people don't see them as temporary. They identify with them. They think I am angry, I am sad, I am anxious. And when you think you are the emotion, you have no space between you and it. You become it, and it controls everything you do. But if you're aware, you see something different. You see, there is anger in my mind. There is sadness arising. There is anxiety present. Now, the emotion isn't you. It's just something happening in your mind. Like weather passing through the sky. And just like you don't have to act on every cloud you see, you don't have to act on every emotion you feel. This awareness is what Buddha called mindfulness. Not some spiritual practice. Just paying attention to what's actually happening in your mind as it happens. Not judging it, not trying to change it, just seeing it clearly. And that seeing creates space. Space between the emotion and your response. And in that space, you have choice. When Buddha sat under that tree, he watched thousands of emotions rise and fall. Desire, aversion, fear, impatience, doubt. All of them came. And instead of reacting, he just watched. He saw how they started as small sensations. How they grew when he gave them attention. How they faded when he just observed without feeding them. And he realized that emotions only control you when you're unconscious of them. When you're aware, they're just experiences passing through. Nothing more. He described it like this. Imagine you're standing beside a river. Emotions are the water flowing by. If you jump in and grab onto every current, you get swept away. You're drowning in emotions. But if you stand on the shore and just watch the water flow, you're free. The water still flows. Emotions still arise. But they don't control you anymore because you're not in the river. You're observing it. Most people are in the river, completely. They're grabbed by every emotional current and swept wherever it takes them. And they think that's just how life is. But Buddha is telling you there's a shore. And getting to that shore isn't about stopping the river. It's about becoming aware enough to step out of it. Here's a key insight. Emotions are triggered by thoughts, not by events. Events are neutral. Your interpretation of the event creates the emotion. Someone cancels plans with you? That's just an event. But if you think, they don't value me, that thought creates hurt. If you think, finally, some free time, that thought creates relief. Same event, different thought, different emotion. Buddha saw this pattern clearly. Your mind is constantly interpreting reality, and those interpretations create emotional responses. But most people aren't aware of their interpretations. They happen so fast and automatically that you think the event caused the emotion directly, but it didn't. Your thought about the event did. So if you want control over your emotions, you need awareness of your thoughts. You need to catch the interpretation before it creates the emotional reaction. And you can only do that if you're paying attention. If you're mindful, Buddha taught a simple practice. When an emotion arises, stop. Don't act on it immediately. Just notice it. Where do you feel it in your body? What's the sensation? What thought triggered it? Just observe. Don't judge yourself for having the emotion. Don't try to push it away. Just be aware of it. And something interesting happens when you do this. The emotion loses intensity. Not because you're fighting it, because awareness itself weakens it. When you're unconscious, emotions grow. When you're conscious, they can't maintain the same power. They're exposed, seen, and they naturally start to fade. This doesn't mean emotions disappear completely. Buddha still felt emotions after his enlightenment. But they didn't control him. He experienced them, acknowledged them, and let them pass, without acting on every impulse they created. Now let's talk about how this applies to your life. Because you're probably controlled by emotions more than you realize. And it's costing you, in your relationships, your decisions, your peace of mind. Think about the last time you got really angry. What did you say or do? Was it helpful? Did it solve the problem? Or did it make things worse? Probably made them worse. Because anger doesn't think clearly. It just reacts. And if you're not aware enough to step back from it, you become the anger. And you do things you normally wouldn't. Or anxiety. How many times have you been paralyzed by anxiety about the future? Unable to act because you're caught in worry about things that might happen? Buddha would say, the anxiety is just a feeling. Watch it. Don't become it. Feel it in your body. Notice the thoughts creating it. And then make your decision from a place of awareness, not from the anxiety itself. Or sadness. How long do you stay in sadness? Days, weeks, months. Not because the situation requires it, but because you're identified with it. You think, I am sad, rather than I am experiencing sadness. And that identification traps you. But if you're aware, you see sadness as something passing through. You feel it. You honor it. But you don't become it. And it passes much faster. Here's the practice. Throughout your day, check in with your mind. What emotion is present right now? Don't judge it, just name it. Oh, there's frustration. There's impatience. There's excitement. There's worry. Just noticing it creates the space Buddha was talking about. Then go deeper. What thought triggered this emotion? What am I telling myself right now? What interpretation did I make? Usually, you'll find a thought that isn't necessarily true. It's just one way of seeing the situation. And once you see it's just a thought, not reality, the emotion loosens its grip. Then feel where the emotion lives in your body. Is your chest tight? Is your stomach churning? Are your shoulders tense? Just notice the physical sensation without trying to change it. This brings you into the present moment, out of the story in your head and into actual experience. And that shift creates freedom. Buddha wasn't teaching some complicated system. He was teaching simple awareness. Pay attention to your mind. Watch your thoughts. Notice your emotions as they arise. Don't identify with them. Don't act on them immediately. Just observe. And in that observation, you create space. Space where choice lives. Space where freedom exists. The people who seem emotionally mature aren't people who don't feel emotions. They're people who are aware of their emotions, who can feel anger without becoming angry, feel fear without being controlled by fear, feel desire without being driven by it. That's mastery, not suppression. Awareness. And this skill compounds. The more you practice awareness, the faster you catch emotions before they control you. The gap gets bigger. The space between feeling and acting grows. And eventually, emotions become just information. Data about what your mind is experiencing. Not commands you have to follow. Buddha spent the rest of his life teaching this. Not as some mystical truth, as a practical skill. Watch your mind. Be aware of your emotions. Don't identify with them. Let them pass. And in that practice, find freedom from being controlled by every feeling that arises. Because right now, your emotions are probably running your life. Making your decisions, controlling your reactions, limiting your choices. Not because emotions are bad, but because you're not aware enough to see them as separate from you. But you can change that. Starting now. Just notice. What are you feeling right now? Don't change it. Don't judge it. Just see it clearly. That's the first step. That's how awareness begins. That's how you start getting free. Subscribe for more ancient practices that actually work.